So it's Kristina with CherryGirl.com. I'm here with Barbara and Ethan of the Belle Brigade, kind enough to have a couple minutes with us.
Yeah.
Right before their show, we're in the Bowery Ballroom. They're going to be opening kind of in the mid. You're the sandwich.
Yeah,
You're like the meat of the sandwich.
That's right.
Yeah. Family of the Year being the nice bread top. And then
Marble rye.
favorite kind of sandwich.
Favorite kind of sandwich? I mean,
Exactly.
like a turkey hummus melt. That's my favorite kind of sandwich.
That takes a little bit more time to prepare.
It's slightly more intense than a turkey sandwich, so let's just go turkey.
Alright, so one of the things I wanted to talk about is Kristina Perry. Big fan of you guys. Was that kind of a surreal thing, her talking about sending some of her followers over to listen to your music on
really
YouTube?
nice, yeah.
It was really cool. We met her, we were playing like an iTunes show, like they put together this show with a few bands in like near Vineyard in Northern California, and she was one of the other bands playing, and we met her like very briefly there, and she was so nice and has just like been really cool
Your
to us.
Twilight album, Brethren,
Yes, that's right.
kind of bonded over that experience.
Yeah.
So tell me about the process of being selected for like a movie soundtrack. How's the awareness for that? Like, how do you go about it?
We kind of knew Alex Patsavis, the lady who does the soundtracks for Twilight, and she asked us if we had any extra material that, because we had just recorded our record, and we did. We had a few songs that we weren't using on the record, and one of them was "I Didn't Mean It," so we gave that to her just to put in the mix, of it, and we were happy we were really happy to have it chosen. It was the first time anything had been used like that for us.
So where did "I Didn't Mean It" come from? What's the story behind "I Didn't Mean It"? There's some intense feeling behind that story.
When we wrote it, we were just kind of like, we were house sitting for my fiance, and like we were just in the living room, and there's a piano in there, and I set up my drums and we were playing, and we just kind of like got on that groove, and it must have been in the middle of the night, and the lyrics, it just felt like a really it's like a vengeance song.
Yeah, it really does. So I was going to say that your music really emulates sort of California, what my experience in California was, sort of the craziness of like West Hollywood and the cities in LA, and then getting a sublet in Venice, and then driving up to PCH for the first time as an East Coaster, like the peaks and valleys. Your music encompasses that.
Nice.
And is that something that you've always aspired to do? Like, we need to capture California in a bottle.
That's really sweet of you to say. It wasn't something that we planned on doing. Like, maybe we weren't we're trying to make a California sounding album, but I think we recorded most of it in Malibu, so we did that drive almost every day up PCH, coming from the east side, or actually we were in Highland Park at that point, and we would make that drive every day. So I mean, I think maybe subconsciously it could have influenced the sound a little bit.
We wanted it to sound good driving.
Just for sure,
top down with the wind blowing through your fur.
Yeah, exactly.
So, tell me about your latest video, which I'm a big fan of, and I'm probably going to clip to when I write this piece. So what was, where did that, and for those of you who haven't seen it, Ethan and Barbara are attached at the midsection, or the body, and you guys are the most effective security guards I've ever seen, by the way.
She's grabbing.
When you put the guy in the headlock and you're on his back, classic. So where did that come from? Where does that originate, that story?
Our friend Claire directed it, and she came up with that idea, and we just kind of talked about it for a very short amount of time.
This sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she wrote the ideas down, and we filmed it over a couple of days, and we got a seamstress to sew those shirts together.
Right, I was going to say, they're very nice.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
You kind of have the thing,
for
one
2 days.
thing, two sort of vibe, and that red pajama thing
Right,
you got.
that's my favorite one.
And there's a sort of, the pun of freedom in that, when you guys are separated finally, and that longing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice just because of that sort of irony of you guys being siblings, and still, do you ever feel like in this industry it's so competitive and it's so hard pressed to succeed? Does it ever become really difficult as siblings trying to accomplish the same goal?
I mean, I think that it's just, I mean, yes, but in like, not like in comparison to how much better it makes it. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's when you work with anybody, there's always stuff to deal with in order to compromise, because you have to do a lot of that to work. But I mean, the fact that we have each other, like in hard times, like is the best part of this band. You know, that we can rely on each other and lean on each other is really what makes it actually work.
So segueing into the family aspect, you guys grew up in a musical family. So do you find that makes it easier or maybe more difficult to transition into a musical career? Because, like, was your family more accepting of you guys as artists, or maybe less so because they've experienced the highs and lows of it in their own way?
We were definitely forewarned.
Like, you're gonna be broke for a really long time, guys.
All my childhood was like, I think I want to do this. Are you sure? Okay. Like, they've always been like extremely supportive about it, but because they've been in it for so long. Like our dad especially, like he was really realistic about it and was like, you're gonna have to bust your ass, and he's right, and that's the only way to do it, and it's hard, and it never really gets easier. You always have to be prepared to reinvent your path and be flexible and just try to be involved in music in as many different ways as possible in order to have like longevity in a musical career. You know, you have to roll with the punches, and he definitely instilled that knowledge in us. So I think it's easier because I feel like I expect the worst, and I think that actually makes it easier because you don't get your soul doesn't get crushed over and over again.
And I think it kind of helps when you have that expectation of the worst, and then you have guys like the LA Times or AURGASM. I don't want to get in trouble for saying yes. I don't want to get in trouble for anything before I post this. YouTube bans it before it goes live. But having those guys really support your record and having the press support a record is, even as a member of the press, it's something that's sort of dumbfounding. Just because it's never something that's unanimous, and it's always like, I get the sense that a lot of the bloggers come from a place of maliciousness, and they're trying to find ways to like you versus ways of like, you're on a level playing field and we're going to gauge it this way or that way. So how do you guys handle sort of the never-ending pressure of trying to appease this massive audience who's, at the end of the day, not going to like it anyway?
I don't read it.
I
read it. My feelings got hurt one time, and I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore.
It's like a bad breakup.
Yeah, exactly.
Not going back.
Stop looking.
Not going back.
Yeah.
So one of the things that's kind of constantly talked about in the press, from my experience, as far as you guys are concerned, is you coming out after high school, like 30 seconds after you graduated, like, I'm free, I'm gay. So what I wanted to sort of flip it as being the brother. What was your take on it? Did it ever sort of, like, did it ever affect the way that you saw Barb at all?
No, I mean, it affected it just in me seeing her be comfortable and free, and I love that, you know.
I came out to him first before I came out to anybody. When I was 17, like a year before, I told him he was like 10 years old. We had like a bonding.
Yeah, it was like, wow, she trusts me.
I like girls too.
It's like, I think they're hot too.
And he's like, ew. One day you won't feel this way.
He was used to it though, because our mom is gay also. So she came out when I was 14, and I guess you were like 8 or 9 or something. And so it was already kind of she kind of like broke the ice for me.
Sure.
You know.
Did you ever feel like that sort of in any way influenced what your art was, or the way that you sort of wrote music, or the way that you put yourself out into the world?
Musically and artistically, I don't know. Maybe I don't think so. But I guess I put myself out in the world pretty gay. I can't really help
Fair
it.
enough.
Yeah.
Never would have guessed.
It's a dead ringer.
For a straight girl.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I mean, because sometimes, like, I feel like when that becomes a focal point, I think that people like to target certain issues, especially things that are prevalent in the world or in the news. And I think it sort of diminishes the music if you sort of imply these things. Like, I feel like a straight person can listen to your music and think it's fucking awesome.
Nice.
And then a gay person could think of your music, it's fucking awesome. And that's awesome. I think that's what works. That's what works about this band.
Thank you.
So how crazy has it been, this tour? Like, you guys are like 7 weeks in now?
Yeah.
How insane has this process been for you guys?
It's actually
Been a really good one.
yeah, not that bad.
Our first tour, we were pretty disastered because our van, like 4 days in, broke down, like, and we were stuck in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, for like a couple days. So I think after that,
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it.
I didn't even know that existed,
Yeah.
so thank you.
we grade, you know what I mean? And so I think that after that, I mean, the little problems that we run into have been very minor and super
Kind of chill
super
about
easy.
them, right?
Yeah.
And what should people expect from a Belle Brigade live show?
Fun.
Hopefully fun.
times. Energy.
Yeah, we have a very special dancer / drummer.
Yeah.
When
When I go back to the drums, he comes out and he plays tambourine. He has a cameo in the video.
Yeah,
Right.
You'll definitely see some like ass
shakes it.
shaking. Yeah. Some
Shakes it
major
hard.
ass shaking from hopefully all of
Sometimes
us.
he does
but
the Russian
especially-
dance.
Yeah, it's like
I'm
his
gonna
feet,
post
yeah.
the challenge, and it's on the internet, so that means it's true, right?
Uh-oh.
Tonight I'm gonna post a challenge to the Belle Brigade. You saw it on the internet, so it must be true.
Yeah.
That I better see some ass shaking
Oh,
on the stage.
for
Oh, yeah.
sure. It's New York.
And you gotta bring the ass
You
shaking.
gotta bring the ass. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well done, y'all. That's all I ask. If you're gonna come to my city, bring the ass.
For sure. For sure.
So going back to sort of the serious stuff, like a lot of the pressing stuff that we talk about on cherrygirl.com, unfortunately, is more of the sort of negative press that the LGBT community is receiving. And obviously, we have a bunch of organizations working on our behalf to change that. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you guys is if you could say anything to whether it's a straight sibling who's encountering sort of the first time of dealing with a family member coming out, or if it's somebody coming out, what kind of, just, I wouldn't say advice because everybody's going to experience it in their own way, but maybe just words of wisdom would be the right way to handle it.
Yeah. It's always better to come out than to not come out. That's the only thing. It's gonna be, depending on your situation, depending on how open your family is, or how open of a community you have, or city, or state, or country you live in. It's how hard it is on a spectrum. It's gonna be difficult no matter what, but you gotta do it and find people who do support you in your life. And if it's not your family, you can find other people that are gonna become your family. It's possible, and you just have to do it.
And for folks on your side, the 10 years old, about to go to bed, like, girls are gross.
I just think, accepting, we had a really tight-knit family, and I'm very lucky, and we all respect each other and accept each other. It's just ingrained in us. But I think if it's not, I think that working on accepting other people and accepting yourself is the most important thing that you can do in this life, and I think that it will lead to a happier life.
Okay, so I like to end interviews on a bunch of weird questions that bands have never been asked before.
Yes,
Like
I've
it.
seen every interview you guys have ever had, so I've got a lot to work with. Guilty pleasures.
Oh.
Guilty pleasures. Okay. Let's see.
Man, it's hard. I don't feel guilty.
All right, I'll throw myself out there.
All right,
to
Yeah.
level the playing
Yeah.
field. Spice Girls.
Spice Girls.
yeah,
that's
great.
not guilty. That's not guilty.
I'll go Ace of Base.
Spending $300 to see them at Madison Square Garden.
That's epic. You're all good. You're all
That is
good.
really good.
Yeah.
Oh man, on that par, man.
Yeah.
Ace of Base though.
Just
went there.
listening to Ace of Base.
Yeah.
I
All right,
love.
fair enough.
I saw the sign.
Yeah. I think I have so many that it's hard to choose from. Yeah.
Just choose one.
Alright.
Oh, you like? I throw my hands.
Oh yeah, I love that song. Tail Cruise.
Yes.
I love Tail Cruise. Yeah.
He has that song with Kesha, which just says enough about this conversation. We need to move on.
I love that song. I do throw my hands up in the air.
I'm sure you do.
Awesome, yeah.
I believe it. I better see some hand throwing.
You will. You're gonna see some ass.
And then I'm
both at the same
gonna
time,
wonder
yeah.
who's playing guitar for a moment.
Right. It'll be Ben, our better guitar player.
So you play guitar and drums in the band.
Yeah, on the record I play drums, but live I do drums and guitar.
Okay, and you play guitar well, better than me. So I'll take it. When you guys have that final sort of jam sequence in your single video, "We're Not to Look for Freedom," it was probably like the highlight of that video for me, because I was like, I want to. When you guys are at the bar and you're like, "You want to start a band?" All right, sure. We were just, surgically removed.
Right.
Starting a band is a small feat in this video, right? So when you guys are shooting videos, even in the Losers video, you guys were playing guitars under the large tree with the dogs. That video is great. So are you guys actually playing?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it's like you play the music,
Yeah.
like loud,
Track,
just
right.
like, and so you kind of just like the same timing.
How awesome was it working with like 7 dogs?
Super awesome. We weren't allowed to like pet them or like talk to them because they were
Look
like
at
actor dogs. They couldn't be
Disturb
distracted.
them.
They were kind of prima donnas, but
Now
But
now
they were
you
very
know what
cute.
to aspire to in your writing.
Right,
like,
right.
don't touch me.
Yeah.
Don't look at me.
yeah, no eye contact. Ever.
Yeah.
I remember Ethan when he was
Lots of
on the
biscuits.
bottom.
When he would look
talk
at me.
to me,
right?
And how if fans want to reach out to you guys, so they can do it through Twitter, they can do it through Facebook. Your site is very user friendly. Cool. So if they wanted to reach Barb or Ethan on their own, how would they do that?
Facebook.
Facebook, yeah.
We read it every day and we interact with people, when we're not driving or something. So definitely Facebook. We love getting Facebook and Twitter messages. So yeah.
So you guys, if you're not at the Bowery Ballroom tonight, seeing these guys, I feel bad for you because you're missing out.
Yeah.
You want to say goodbye to our friends?
Bye, guys. Thanks a lot.